New videos every day.
We all know that it is important to wash our hands, to fight the spread of germs by washing our hands. Most of us wash our hair. Some of us put all manners of different things on our skin. Today in my mystery grocery bag, we're talking about body products, shampoo, toothpaste, and we're going to give you some guidelines on how to choose the safest and most healthy products. So let's dive right in. Now, the first thing that you really need to know is that your skin is not like Saran Wrap. Things that we put onto our skin topically do indeed enter our bloodstream. So I'm not saying that we're gonna eat our soap, but essentially we need to realize that the things we put on our skin do enter our body just like the things that we eat. So with that in mind, let's take a look here. Okay, so here we go. A classic hand soap. So looking over here at these ingredients, we've got water, sodium lauryl sulfate. Now, sodium lauryl sulfate is similar to its counterpart, sodium lauryl sulfate. Definitely a chemical that's gotten some attention. That's actually why they use the lauryl sulfate instead of the lauryl, because they're trying to pull one over on you. This is kind of a dangerous surfactant type of chemical. They use this chemical in harsh cleaning products and stuff to have the same effect. So that's something I try to avoid. Then just going on here, we see a lot of different long chemical names. Sodium chloride, glycol disterate, cocamidopropylbutane, PEG 120 methyl glucose dialate, tetrasodium EDTA, so there's a preservative, polyquaternium 7, polaxamer 124. The bottom line here is that there's a lot of what I would call weird, crazy chemicals in this product, and there are just too many weird, crazy chemicals for you to remember every single one of them and what each one of them is. So me personally, find it's easier to just try to avoid them all as much as possible. So I look for a short ingredient list. I kind of apply the same guidelines to my body products that I do to the foods that I eat. So looking for things with a really short ingredient list, trying to avoid things with a lot of different chemicals in it. I just want to touch on also, this also has fragrance. Now, often you'll see something just listed as fragrance. That is another chemical. They're just not telling you what exactly that chemical is. So fragrance is another thing I try to avoid. This is a product that I, would not purchase myself personally, would try to avoid a product like that. So let's look at another soap. So I actually brought this one from home. This is a brand called Everyday Coconut. They have other products that are called Everyday Shea and different stuff like that. And what's cool, what I want you to see on this label, is that we've got a much shorter ingredient list. So coconut water, coffee berry extract, virgin coconut oil, laurel glucoside, decyl glucoside, and copra extract. So very minimal ingredients, not nearly the weird long chemical names that we saw in this other one over here. You'll also notice that there's no fragrance in this product. So this is my personal soap that I use at home. I use it as a hand soap. I use it as a body wash. I really like this brand. We might see a couple other of these come out of the mystery grocery bag, so we'll just keep on going. So soap is something that everyone uses, right? This is an important thing. While we're on the subject of soap, I want to show you this soap. So this is just a little, soap pack here, and I want to show you the ingredients. So just the smell, bringing this out of the bag is pretty intense. Sodium palmate, sodium cocoate, aqua, parfum, which is your fragrance, right, that we were talking about a second ago. Citronol, geraniol, limonene, sodium chloride, titanium dioxide, tetrasodium etidronate, and tetrasodium EDTA. Okay, so we've got some weird kind of funky chemicals in here, starting to get into these longer weird chemical names that maybe we don't recognize. It's important to know that titanium dioxide is a chemical which has been banned in certain places. It's a kind of whitening chemical. Oftentimes they'll actually use this in laundry detergents and things like that. So titanium dioxide is definitely something that I try to avoid. And again, the perfume, the fragrance, I'm not saying that this is going to kill you necessarily, but you need to realize that if we are constantly putting lots of chemicals onto our skin, those chemicals are going to accumulate in our body. Our body does not, it does have detoxification methods for getting rid of stuff like this, but if we are putting a lot of these kind of products on our skin, and especially when we're talking about girls, we put a lot of stuff on our skin every single day. And you need to realize that there is cumulative exposure to these different chemicals, and some of them are more dangerous than others. This is why I just try to avoid them all. Okie dokie. Continuing on, we can do shampoo. So once again, we've got more of this everyday coconut brand and a very similar ingredient list to what we saw on the soap, which is not surprising considering this is shampoo. They're very similar. And I just want to drive home again that we've got a nice short ingredient list, and that right there is a really, really good sign. When we're talking about the accumulation of chemicals, one of the most commonly known ones is paraben. And we can actually see that they appear to have taken the parabens out of these other products. A couple of years ago, pretty much every single thing that I picked up, soap, shampoo, lotion, you name it, all contained these methyl and propylparabens. And they've actually done certain studies on like breast cancer lumps, and they find really high concentrations of those paraben chemicals in the breast cancer tumors. So that's not necessarily saying that parabens cause cancer, but it's worth noting that when we talk about these toxins accumulating, oftentimes they're going to accumulate in our fat. And it's worth noting that if you've got a high accumulation of these chemicals inside of a tumor, it's probably a good indication that it at least has a partially causative role. For me, it's enough reason to try and avoid that as much as I possibly can. Alrighty, so a toothpaste. Now, toothpaste is something we get a lot of questions about. Probably the biggest question is about fluoride. Now, we have a couple videos on our channel specifically about water fluoridation, and if this is a topic that's interesting to you, I would highly recommend you check out that video, or those videos, where he actually describes some of the systemic effects that can result from ingesting fluoride. Now, we're not ingesting our toothpaste, but once again, our mouth, just like our skin, is also not Saran Wrap. So we've got a lot of very delicate membranes in our mouth, and things that we just put in our mouth, even topically onto our teeth, can enter our bloodstream. So even though we're not swallowing the toothpaste, I still will try to avoid a fluoridated toothpaste for that same reason, because I don't want that fluoride going into my bloodstream. So here we go. This one is by Desert Essences, and looking for the ingredients in English. So here we go. So now, toothpastes are gonna probably have more ingredients than our soaps and stuff over here, which were really pretty minimal. But again, I just wanted to point out that this is a fluoride-free. Sorry, it's funny because it's French on this side and English on this side, so I keep turning it upside down. But we do have sodium lauryl sulfate free, which we were talking about a little while ago, and fluoride free, which is really nice. And I can compare this to this other toothpaste, Colgate Pro Clinical. Now, within this toothpaste, again, we've got the titanium dioxide. So we had titanium dioxide in the soap and in the toothpaste. We also have sodium lauryl sulfate. We talked about that's one of the things that this one is very proudly doesn't contain, the sodium lauryl sulfate. Things like flavor, coca midopropyl-betaine, sodium saccharin, which is probably sugar, FD&C blue number 1. The main thing I want to drive home here, guys, is that if we're brushing our teeth, it's because we want to take all the stuff off of our teeth. We want our teeth to be clean. So why on earth would we be brushing our teeth with something that's full of chemicals? And even something like blue number 1 or titanium dioxide, which have been, banned or at least restricted in certain areas. So I could do a whole video about toothpaste. I just wanted to briefly touch on the issue of fluoride and touch on the issue of some of these weird, crazy toothpastes that have a bunch of chemicals and artificial colors and stuff in them. Definitely something to avoid. Okie dokie. So when we're talking about skin products, there's a lot of different moisturizers and lotions and things that people will put on their skin. And I don't have a lot of those other things here with me today, but I do have a couple of good things that I do like to use on my skin. So one of them is, actually I can show you both of these. Basically, this is just vitamin E oil. So you can see here that I have just the plain 100% vitamin E oil. This is really super nice to put on dry skin. Now, if you are needing a little something additional, I have this other one here that's restoring rose hip oil with vitamin E, which is really nice. And again, I just want to drive home that our ingredients are organic rose hip fruit oil and vitamin E acetate. So we don't have any weird, funky sounding chemical names. We just want to go with things that are very simple. Sweet almond oil can also be really nice for the skin. There's a couple of other, like if you can find liquid vitamin C, this is an excellent thing to put on your skin, especially after being in the sun. While we're on the subject of after the sun, I wanted to show you my aloe. Now this one's getting pretty close to empty, but you can see that it's clear. So there's a lot of aloe vera gels out there that are like bright green, and I would just encourage you to look at the ingredients and see if there aren't some weird colored chemicals in there making it that color. The best thing would be to actually have an aloe vera plant and actually break the leaf off and use the aloe vera fresh. That's really going to be the optimal thing. Aloe vera is great for your skin. Typically, it's considered something that we put on our skin after the sun, but it's a great moisturizer for the skin at any time. So an aloe vera plant would be a really, really good investment if you want something good and healthy to put on your skin. And of course, there's also some nutritional benefits to aloe vera as well. So moving right along here. Okay, so this is a Bath and Body Works aromatherapy stress relief hand soap. And again, we can just take a little gander at these ingredients. Water, sodium lauryl sulfate, which we've already talked about, glycerol 26, fragrance. We do have some aloe leaf juice in here. It's probably the best thing in the whole product. And then we have some weird crazy stuff like the coca midopropyl-betaine, the methylchloroisothiazolidinone. I don't even know how to say that one, okay? Methylchloroisothiazolinone. Lots of weird chemicals, okay? So this is a perfect example of something full of a bunch of weird chemicals that I don't even know what they are. I would rather just avoid them altogether. So once again, there's also the fragrance in here, which I would avoid. Just remember that you don't need to keep track of all these different ingredients, and looking at the ingredient list isn't about having to sit there and really think about every single one of those and put it in your phone and look up what each one of these chemicals is. You can glance at an ingredient list and know just by looking at it, oh man, that looks like a lot of weird complex chemicals, and put it back on the shelf. I talked earlier about the methylparabens. That's a really great example of a very specific chemical, but again, how much time would it take to actually go through and look up every single weird chemical on that label? I find it's easier just to avoid them altogether. Now, I understand that it's nice to smell nice, and most of the things I've reamed on here have contained fragrances. So also things, cologne, sprays, and perfumes and stuff like that would also be something that I try to avoid. Again, this is just chemical exposure that's accumulating inside of our body. So even though we're putting it on the outside of our body, these chemicals are still going to accumulate inside of our bodies. So what I like is these essential oils, and I've just brought a couple here so you can kind of see what my essential oils look like. I also have some Tiger Balm. It's kind of not related to this video, but really great for bug bites and sore muscles, anything like that. And it smells amazing. So I have some rose water, some eucalyptus, some tea tree oil, and let's see, what is this? A peppermint oil. So the essential oils are awesome, and we can do a whole video about essential oils. They have therapeutic benefits. They have different benefits that the different oils offer, and they smell amazing. And you can add a drop or two to another product you're using. So let's say you have a soap that doesn't have any fragrance or doesn't have any smell in it. Maybe you want to add a little drop of essential oil to add a little bit of smell. Some of these you always want to read the back of the label. Some of them you don't want to apply directly to your skin. You want to use what they call a carrier oil, just kind of to dilute the essential oil itself. But there's always little instructions on them that tell you what to do. Just in general, these are going to be so much safer and actually offer some health benefits to us in addition to the aromatherapy benefits that most people are more familiar with. The last thing I wanted to talk about is my conditioners. So a couple of you guys leave questions asking about my hair and what I do to my hair. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So once again, I've got the Everyday Coconut brand, my freaking favorite. This one has a little bit longer ingredients than those other ones, but still we just see coconut water, ginger extract, coconut oil, a couple of, like I said, there's a couple of weird ones in here, like bihentramonium chloride. But again, significantly less ingredients than we would find in any other conditioner. So usually when you have a conventional shampoo or conditioner, right, it has a really long ingredient list. I don't even have any of those with me today. But we can see that this is a much shorter ingredient list than what you would find on most of those things. Now this one, this is a tea tree replenishing conditioner by Desert Essence, which I think is the same. They do also make an aloe vera. It's not the same one I have today. But anyways, so this is probably the longest ingredient list of these healthy things that I've shown you. But as we can just kind of glance at it, we can see that there's a lot of these, like yucca cactus extract, vitamin E, which I was talking about earlier. And what I like on this is on this side, it actually says no animal testing, no parabens, no artificial fragrances or dyes, no petroleum compounds, including mineral oil, petrolatum, and paraffin, no SLS, PEGs, PPGs, MEA, DEA, or TEA, so that's the sodium lauryl sulfate, the PEG, I don't even remember what it stands for, but we saw that in 3 or 4 of those. No glycols, no phthalates. So this is just a cool little proclamation they're making here of all the stuff that's not contained in the product. So that in and of itself is, speaks a lot to me. And there's no fragrance. There's no artificial fragrance in here. So I use these conditioners. I, of course, use them when I wash my hair, but then I also use them as a leave-in. Now I have really thick, crazy, curly hair. It's probably not going to work for everybody to leave it in, but something worth trying if you're a curly girly as well, or you got some thick, crazy hair. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. I hope that I have given you some cool things to work with here. I do hope that you will like the video. Leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts, let me know what you have to say in response to the information I've shared. Be sure to subscribe to the PsycheTruth channel. You can learn more about me and my health coaching practice at CorrinaRachel.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.